My career sucks.
Sex just isn't the same.
What's my purpose?
Where did this fat come from?
My relationship is killing me.
I'll never be happy.
My debt is piling up. I'll never find love. Why can't I be like other gay guys? Hey guys, it's time to get a grip, stop whining, make a bold move, and do something amazing with your 40-plus gay life. Let's get to the show with your Tell It Like It Is host, Rick Clemons, who does his best to never act like a dick or a diva unless you act like one first.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of 40 Plus Gay Men, Gay Talk, and we are here to chat again. Well, we're chatting, me and my guests are chatting, you're listening, but thanks for being listeners. And before we dive too deep, don't forget, we have once a month chats where you can come chat with other guys who are in our lovely 40 plus gay world. They happen the third Monday of the month. I think the next one is happening, well, just count April, count it down. It's going to be in 3-4 weeks from now. I think it's April 17th, April 21st. Don't hold me to it. I don't have my calendar in front of me, but would love to have you there. And why would we love to have you there? Because you know what? We feel like many gay men really struggle with self-expression and finding this way to be in their beautiful selves when it comes time to reinvent, or, breaking some patterns that they need to be breaking. And oftentimes you just need some accountability, whether it's showing up for a podcast and listening to it, or just finding new ways to reward yourself. Well, today's guest has navigated that road. He is very well known in his world. He is he's a hair guy, and he's had the privilege to do hair for some of the biggest stars: Cameron Diaz, Reese Witherspoon, Deborah Messing. Okay, so yes, I realize I'm like just adding big old gay divas that we all kind of look up to. But he also has found his pathway to really helping individuals in the LGBTQ space start to embrace themselves. And I was joking with him before he came on. It's like, come on, Corey, you've already been a coach. You've been coaching people in those chairs for years on not just their color and their hairstyles, but people tend to open up when they're sitting in those lovely little chairs. So I'm so excited for Corey to be here. And let's see where the two of us go. Corey, welcome to the podcast, man.
Hi, Rick. It's so great to be here. And thank you for inviting me.
Well, of course. And I love that you're taking this newest adventure for yourself. You said it's only been a couple of years that you've been in the coaching space. But I love that you're actually kind of taking some years of experience and probably some beautiful conversations and then applying it to this cool stuff. So let's talk about first, why did you dive into this? What was the impetus for you to go, I think I want to start doing some coaching outside of the salon chair?
Well, it originally started in COVID. I really felt lost, I guess. I couldn't really do hair much. I didn't know what my future was going to be. And I hired a coach, and a coach had turned me on to positive psychology and said that might be an interesting place for me to start. And I really felt a connection to positive psychology because it's really about moving forward and creating new thought patterns that would align with your dreams.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've done some positive psychology work too, and I love it because it really challenges you. Look at your own saboteurs and all that sort of stuff. It's just an interesting space to play. So as you started the journey, what were, you don't have to tell us all, but like, what were a couple of things you discovered about yourself in that work?
Oh, wow. I think was in conversations of really being vulnerable, learning how to have vulnerable, honest conversations. I when I was younger, being a gay person and being gay bashed and a few times, I was defensive.
Yep.
So positive psychology and coaching have really helped me to acquire non-defended communication. If that makes sense. Like gotcha. It sort of has given me an opportunity to acknowledge the things that I do well, where I used to enter a conversation of what am I not doing right?
Yep.
So my listening skills would be about what am I going to say next?
Yeah.
Instead of now, I really listen to what people say, and then I can answer them back with authority.
That piece of what am I not doing right is such an interesting, it's such an interesting exploration of self, number one. But it also, at least for me, I'm just going to speak from my own personal experience, Corey. I also realize how much judgment I throw down on myself when I ask that question. It actually just catabolically tears down my ability to see myself worth anything. Now, I think there's a beautiful space to go, okay, what am I not doing right, and learn from it, but not to the point where, oh, see, I'm a piece of shit. I'm just no good, And I think that's an interesting place to get to tap dance in our world.
Yes.
And get to know ourselves better.
Yeah.
And it's so unique when we get to go into that space. I often, when I'm working with clients, see that dance beginning to happen, and then they a little bit pull back because there's supposed to be something wrong. There's supposed to be something wrong. And I always invite them to think about, well, what if it's actually right? What you're doing right now is actually the right thing to be doing. There's nothing wrong with it, I'm curious, like, as you started to dig into this, how often do you see clients like, oh, yeah, that wrong is good, makes me grow, or, oh, I guess there isn't really anything wrong with that? Do you ever have those kind of clients?
It's usually when people are wanting to sort of be coached out of being wrong, I try to get them to see the story that they're telling themselves about why it's wrong. And then ask them if that story is true today. Because usually the wrongness is, like growing up gay in the time when I was a young child, there was a lot of fear and insecurity, and I was demonized. Something was the matter with me.
Yep.
So you carry that with you until you create this isn't something that's the matter with me. And you have to create those patterns. And notice if you're in a conversation with somebody and you're feeling very secure, like just notice that and like put your hand on your heart and go, oh, this feels really good. Because then your brain will go back to that.
But it's also interesting too, Corey, when we step into that, like, oh, this feels good, but am I supposed to feel good? Is this what's supposed to happen?
Yeah.
I did a retreat a month or so ago. Not quite a month ago. And it was a lot about stepping into our erotic selves, and there was a lot of, oh, you mean I can feel good this way? It's okay to feel good, and of course there's shame. Let's just go there. There's lots of shame in our gay community about feeling good and being sexual beings and all that sort of stuff. And there were a lot of moments for myself and some of the other people at the retreat where it's like, oh, I guess we can do this. We can give ourselves permission to experience joy and pleasure. And we have been so conditioned in the world to this isn't right. This isn't right.
Yeah, it gives you freedom from the bondage of self.
Yeah. I bet though, even in your work, and I'm not doing this to have you tell tales on anybody. I bet even in some of the, most celebrated individuals on the planet in your celebrity work, I bet sometimes they came in to the salon like, do you think it'd be okay if I went this color or this cut? That's a like, I want this. I want to experience that pleasure, but I bet there's some holdback even in those spaces because they're human too, right?
Oh yeah. No, you have to you have to babysit them a little bit more sometimes because they have, if they're a visual person in society, if they're a celebrity, they have more to risk.
Yep. Yeah.
So I also have my reputation to risk.
Of course.
So
Yeah, it's a dual-edged sword. Let's just go there, right? Because if you do the wrong thing and suddenly everybody's like, "Oh, did you see that hairstyle on the red carpet? It was horrendous." And like, who did it? Oh, well, Corey Powell did that. Okay, well, Corey's just like shot himself in the foot, so to speak, or had his
I
scissors taken away, so to speak. But
I can give a little scary point. I had to do Cameron Diaz like Platinum Blonde for Charlie's Angels 2 or whatever it's called.
mm-hmm.
And she had long brunette hair at this time. And she didn't really want to do it, but she had to do it for the film. And she started crying. And I mean, what do you do when a big celebrity starts crying in your chair? I used my best. I can create radiance. I can create humor. So I just said, well, is it worth $20 million? That's how much you're getting paid.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And whether it's 20 million or $20, I mean, it's such an interesting thing,
Yeah.
is it worth it?
Yeah.
Is it worth it? I love that. That's a good story. That's a very, I mean, because it does like, oh, she's getting paid 20 million, but she was having her moment.
Right. But it doesn't matter if you're in a space of punishing yourself or shame or grief, or is this worth my time right now? I want to spend my effort doing this right now.
Right. Yeah.
No, it's like when people are, go on.
Interesting too, what you just said. Is it worth my effort? This is something that we as gay men have struggled with for so long. Is it worth my effort to be my own person? Or is it worth my effort to go after that guy? Or is it worth my effort to be out at work? I mean, all these things are questions we all face all the time. And then suddenly here we are at 40 plus years old. And it's like, well, is it worth the effort to keep, staying in shape? Because nobody's interested in me. I'm over 60 now. Nobody wants me. I mean, it's an interesting question. I've had a couple of guys recently in my space. They're like, what's the point? What's the point? I'm too old. I'm like, I kind of did in my own coach way. Like I wanted to say, bitch, you're not too old. Come on, let's saddle back up and let's go figure this out. But there's the positive psychology stuff that you can start to bring in. It's like, what's that saboteur? What's that story you're telling? What is that thing that you're missing in yourself that you're not seeing?
Like, what are you saying you're too old for?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Or accepting, okay, I might be too old for this, but I'm not too old for that.
Right. I think there's a big thing about gratifications as we get older. I think we're used to getting them from other people, and there becomes a shift. Yep. And that's when you get stuck in a place of ruminating and negative thoughts. So how maybe this stuck place is someplace you're supposed to be, and your resistance is actually keeping you there longer. So maybe what you need to do is look at how the stuckness is benefiting you.
That's some good juicy stuff there. It is, but stuckness is, I mean, I've been playing around with this, and people who've been listening to the podcast are like, yeah, we know, Rick. I've been stuck on a book.
Writing a book?
Yeah, it's written. I've been stuck trying to get it out there and get it published. And actually, I went through some stuff over a month ago and at that retreat where it's like, oh, this wasn't just about the eroticism. It's like, oh, this just opened up a new channel for me thinking about the book, where I was like, okay, I'm not really stuck. I don't like it the way it is. And I don't want to even I don't want to go push it out there, not the way it is. I need to re-engineer it some. And that brought me some really beautiful, there was a new story. So to your point of breaking the pattern, I'm stuck to, okay, but are you really stuck, or what is really going on? And because I went so deep in myself about opening up to things that I hadn't been doing and all that, I was kind of shocked when I was driving home, because it was up in Joshua Tree area and I live up the coast of California. So I had a nice 6-hour drive. All of a sudden in the middle of the drive, it hit me like, you're not stuck. You got a good book there. you want to re-engineer it a little bit and reimagine it. And so to your breaking the patterns, I broke the pattern around that thought process. And that to me is one of the most beautiful things that we can do in our lives, and especially you and I as coaches or even individuals. When you can break
Yeah.
your own pattern, oof, what a difference it makes.
Yeah, and often those are like small daily acknowledgments.
Mm-hmm.
I call them celebrations, like celebrate those moments when you have those breakthroughs,
Yeah.
that, you just need to redo it. And what if you attach how you feel, and it
Mm-hmm.
can't be like, oh, I just feel good or I feel bad. No, really, how does this make you feel? If you start attaching that to the process of what you've just did, your brain will remember it more because you have attached the emotion to it.
But that's one of the key pieces is you got to attach something to it. Like, what is it? Too often we say, well, what do you want to get out of it? And people can answer, most of us can, oh, I want this. Okay, that's great. You want that. But when that happens, what is it you want to experience?
Right.
What is it you want to feel? That to me is I love working with people in that space. Like, tell me what, okay. So what would getting the book published feel like? What is it I want to experience? At this stage, I'm like, I just want the damn thing done. I just want I want to experience the thrill of it being off the plate.
What would the experience of it being redesigned?
Oh, for me right now, Corey, that is like it's like I'm going to experience a breath of fresh air. Like I started working on this book like back in COVID.
And what does that smell like?
Well, probably today, because it's beautiful rain outside, it would feel like a day of just fresh new rain. I would get to smell that. I would feel some warmth. That's something I noticed. Like when this hit me in the middle of the retreat, it was freezing cold. I mean, it was cold up in those that don't know California, know Joshua Tree. The desert can be very cold, folks. We're just going to tell you that. You may think, oh, the desert's always hot. No. When the desert's cold, it's cold. And it was cold. And in the middle of a exercise, it was when this first opened up for me. I was like, oh, wow. And I got more than warm. I mean, I actually took my shirt off in the middle of this experience, and I'm like, I'm burning. I was sweating. I thought, isn't that interesting? So my body was having that moment.
Yeah.
This has been, now was expressing, it was letting it pour out of me, literally. And I thought, wow. And I left that experience, which was, it was lunchtime anyway, but I was ravenous. I was like, oh, wow. And it's interesting because I'd gone into that whole weekend experience. And one of the questions was, what's one word you would describe to why you're here? And I said, hunger. I'm really hungry. And in the middle of it, I'm like, I was really hungry. And then when I left, they asked the same word. What's the word? I said, I'm hungry, but in a different way. I'm hungry to now go implement everything that I have gained from this and not stop. And I think that's the beauty of what we bring to our coaching experience. So curious for you, what does self-expression mean to you, Corey? I mean, because you've got to do all these celebrity hair and all this sort of stuff, but like, what does self-expression really mean for Corey Powell?
Self-expression is it's an extension of where I am at in my process of living that day. Because, like some days I wake up in a better space than others. And
you're not perfect at this every day? I mean, come on.
No, I do have keep going. I love you, and give myself a high five in the mirror. But the self-expression, I think, God, it's really evolving into how I can create community and wealth with the people around me. It's about making people matter. Because if I'm able to really focus on making people matter, it creates more mattering for me. and I'm not out there looking for
Mm.
it.
Oh, that's one of those things that I would say that was kind of an Oprah moment, more mattering for me. If I can make people matter, it's more mattering for me. That's,
I mean, it's just the reward that you don't even notice. But I did every time I felt that, if I was in a public place or whatever, I would just touch my heart and I go, that feels really good. And that's
of course,
how I
if
got
you do
into
that in the wrong
habits.
public place and you go, that feels really good. Somebody like, okay, what is this guy doing? Filling himself up or something? Or is he having a heart attack? Or, but no, it is. It's such a I mean, you really, that I have to say that really touched me, man. That was like,
Aw.
well, it touched me from a deep place of I've never heard that. I've never heard, I've heard people say, I want to make people matter. And I'm like, that's cool. I love that. But the juxtaposition, make people matter so that I can make matter for me too. That to me was really an interesting, like, what's my point of being here on the planet? I want
Yeah.
to make people matter so I can matter to me. That's a beautiful, I just want that
I
to kind
think
of sit with people because
I
that's
kind of think that we're reward-based people,
Mhm.
humans. So, and our validations, if it's not in the equation, it's like you're going around in a circle, like a wind-up toy. But
Yeah.
when you get into a connection, you get to pause
Mm.
and you get to be, and you make people seen so that you're seen and they're heard and you're heard.
I love the pause. As a speaker on stages, it's one of my favorite, and I work with professional speakers a lot. It's one of my favorite things to go, okay, that sounded really great. Now here's what I want you to do. I want you to say this line and just pause and then say the next line. Well, why? Because that line is your connection to the audience.
Yeah.
And if you rush through it, you lost an amazing opportunity to really connect. So I was working with somebody the other day and I used that example. So we redid the line, had him do it. And I said, what do you think I felt? Because I wanted them to kind of like see, like, let's play with this a little bit. And she rattled off a couple of things and she goes, what did you feel? And I rattled off two things that are completely different. She goes, oh, I got that wrong. I said, no, you didn't. Because how could you know what I felt? How could you really know? You're not me. I said, this is the beauty of what we get to do as speakers and people who do this work. And, whether you're on a stage or you got somebody sitting in your chair at the salon, we have the ability to help people connect. And if you rush through, Corey, I'm going to just make an assumption here and told Deborah Messenger, like, no, you need to change that red to this and trust me on this. Now let's go do it. Get over here. And there was no pause. She wouldn't feel connected. She might trust you, depending on how much work she's done with you. But the beauty of this pause is for them and for you. And it's
Right
really
there.
interesting. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Right there creates the mattering.
Mm-hmm. Ooh.
Right there is because that makes them feel that you're speaking to them and that they matter. If you're just talking, it's almost you're doing it for yourself.
Well, you are. In fact, there's often times that I will say something on this podcast and I'll get to the editing room with the team and like, oh, that's a big gap. And I'm like, wait, don't cut it yet. Because I want that gap to hit. Because I know the audience is trying to catch up to what was just said.
Yeah, yeah.
And for me as a speaker, podcaster, or with you as a guest, there's times I want to create that moment because I may be having something going on inside me that like, ooh, like when you said that, make people matter so that you can make mattering for you more. That was one of those moments where it's like, this needs to just land. This needs to land for a really beautiful purpose. I was taking it in. Audience needs to take it in. I'm not telling you all you need to take it in, but like, okay, rewind, re-listen to what Corey said. That was really amazing. Too often we rush through life.
Yeah.
And then we wonder why, oh, no, I can't, I'm going to kind of juxtaposition this to another piece here, but we're rushing through life so much that okay, I probably really need to reinvent myself, or I need to reinvent my energy around this, or, I need to do this. You can't do that when you're rushing through it. Like,
No.
what happens when you stop and pause?
Yeah.
And oh, wow, I can actually think. That clarity.
Well, like in
It's,
your like when you went in your retreat and you had that moment of clarity, and I'm gonna paraphrase and said you had freedom from
mhm.
something that was restricting you.
Yep.
So you have this freedom. What do you do with the freedom?
Or what do you allow yourself to do? That's the other thing,
Right. Yeah.
right?
Yeah. So
Some
that's
people
the
go, oh,
pause.
I get to be free. Well, a lot of people are like, well, I don't know what that feels like. Cool. Then
That's a
let's
pause.
play with what that feels like. Too often we get to, well, what's the destination? What am I going to get from this? And I want you to get to a destination. In fact, I think that's the beautiful piece of what I hope we give people in these conversations is, here's a new way to think about where you're going. Here's some way to create some accountability. I'm not saying come back and re-listen to this episode again, but do, because when Corey dropped that one thing, it was really good. But oftentimes the accountability that we seek is just showing up to doing something. I went to that retreat for different reasons than ended up being what happened at that retreat. And if
That's
I could have
usually the reason.
predicted that, I would have probably said, nah, that's not going to happen, And I'm really glad it did, because it was such I love personal development. I wouldn't say I'm a
Yeah.
personal
Yeah.
development junkie, but I love doing the work. And it'd been a while, Corey, since I'd been in a space like that. I'm so used to being on, this side of the things and
Yeah.
being the
Yeah.
coach and all. And I was realizing it's so interesting that hunger was, it was so weird, because I, like, when they asked that question, I'm like, I don't know, I'm hungry. I'm like, oh, let's use that, because I'm hungry to learn, but I'm also hungry, all this sort of stuff. I didn't realize how hungry I was to be in that kind of space. It's been a while.
That's
And now I'm
awesome.
really like, okay, I need to do this more often. And this is what I love about having this kind of conversation with you is you can't get, I don't believe you. It's hard to get to self-expression and reinvention and really leveraging yourself and, holding yourself accountable if you don't take the breath, if you don't take the pause, because you just
True.
rush through
True.
life.
And I think that so many of us, especially in the city, just sort of remain on autopilot,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a challenge to get people sometimes to want to reap the rewards of a deeper perspective.
What's one of the rewards you feel like you've picked up going, because you've gone through a deeper perspective, stepping
Oh
into
yeah.
doing this work? What's one of the rewards you feel like you've gotten out of going deeper?
I can walk into any situation now and feel confident in what I'm going to say because of my deeper listening. And because now I have skills that other people may not have. So it makes them interesting, makes me interesting, makes them interested in what I have to say.
Mm. Mm. Years ago, long time ago in Orange County, I was at a networking event, and the guy that invited me, he was speaking. And one of my favorite things he ever said, and I hadn't thought about this. No, actually, it wasn't the guy. No, it was my girlfriend, Stacy. She says it. She said, you want to know how to network? Be interesting and be interested.
Yeah, yeah.
And she goes, you play both of them.
And interested makes you interesting.
Exactly.
It's the same thing as if you make people matter, you're going to matter back.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What do you most enjoy about getting to do this journey with people in your coaching as you guide them really to wherever they want to go? It's not about us. I mean, I think that's the interesting thing about coaching. It's not about us.
Oh, I just love to get people to see what they have had within themselves all along. Like I like to bring out people's positive side of life that's always there, but our society, I believe, keeps us trying to fix what's wrong.
Yep.
Instead of making growing what's working already. Like if you're a creative person and you're always trying to be a math person, you're going to be frustrated all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So go with your creative and embrace that and share that with people. Like find out what is your heartbeat? What makes your heart beat? Mine, I love creating what's my a tagline? I've done luxurious hair for 35 years. Now I want to help you create a more luxurious relationship with yourself.
That's such a juicy word, and it doesn't get used enough. I had a speaking client who similar. She uses the word luxurious all the time, and at first I'm like, okay, that's okay, I get it. But then when I saw how much it lit her up, she's like, what would happen if every day was a luxurious day for you?
Yeah.
And she goes, and I'm not talking about putting on jewels and everything. She's like, what if it just every day was luxurious? The luxurious rain, the luxurious sun,
Yeah.
the luxurious cloudy day, And I thought that's a really interesting way. And again, we all know it's words and how we step into our sphere of being who we choose to be. But I love that you want to help people see that. Because sometimes we don't stop and see that sort of stuff.
And it's easier than people think it is.
Yep.
Yeah.
I agree 100%. So what's next? Anything on the horizon that you're doing? Maybe besides, more hair, but anything fun coming up that you'd really like to talk about before we wrap everything up here, Corey?
I'm actually going to Joshua Tree this weekend, and I'm doing a 2-day silent meditation retreat that's online. And then I'm taking 2 days and I'm really outlining and discovering who my clients I want to be. What is the relief I have for your suffering? I want to really work on that. I'm going to do a vision board. I'm going to do writing, listen to podcasts, and just be in the mountains all by myself.
That's beautiful.
And then next month, I'm going to New York outside of Albany. I'm going to a gay coaching convention.
Yeah, Gay Coaches Alliance group.
Alliance, yeah.
Yeah, awesome, man. I have never got to go. It's always been when I've got other things going on. And this year I was going to go. And again, something else came up. I'm like, okay, I've been a member of the group forever. So that will be, you will enjoy that. You would definitely enjoy it. Good group of men. Definitely.
Yeah.
A lot of them have been on the podcast. So this one and my other podcast. So I mean, I'm a little jealous now because well, it just so happened we're going to New York, but we're not going till the end of the month. I'm like, I'm not going to go across the country and then come back and then go across again. So
yeah,
just one of those weekends. But well, I am so glad that we got connected, that you brought your beautiful self and where you're going, and that you've really shown people like what does it look like to be reinventing and permission and all these accountability and like finding those new pathways, because there's so many people who they may not be able to actually articulate it, Corey. I think that may be the thing. They don't know how to quite say what it is they're trying to do.
Yeah.
And some of them may not. Oh no, I would never say I'm looking for a luxurious life. Well, you might be. You just don't realize it.
Yeah. Well, what's your definition of luxury? Or luxurious? Right. Like, I don't think luxury and luxurious are the same thing. Luxurious is like emotional.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
So, well, thank you, sir, so much for being here. And if somebody wanted to connect with you, what's your website so that I could they can hear it, and I'll have it on the guys all know that listen to it, like all this stuff's on the podcast page as well. But go ahead and shout your website out.
My website is Corey, Corey J Powell, Powell, CoreyJPowell.com.
Awesome.
You can also book a Calendly session on CoreyJPowell.com.
Awesome. And I would invite you guys to do that. There's so many beautiful coaches out there. And this is why I love having fellow coaches on, because I'd love to say, okay, I can coach everybody. Y'all would wear me out. I'm just going to tell you, you would wear me out in a really beautiful way. But there's not enough time in the day to coach all the beautiful men and women on the planet, especially gay men on the planet who really would love to step into this space. So, hook up with my friend Corey and go out there, guys, and continue to be your most luxurious self and whatever that looks like for you. And we will be back in just another week. And don't forget, come join us one of these days on our monthly men's chat, the third Monday of every month. And thank you so much, Corey, for being here. Really appreciate you, man.
That's a wrap for 40 Plus. Gay men, gay talk, where size doesn't matter. We drop our bullshit, get over our screwed up fears, make bold moves, and live life without apologies. Don't forget to join us on Facebook at 40 Plus, Gay Men, Gay Talk, where the conversations continue.